frosted fiend, a wicked slice, a devil's dream, a sugared vice. Upon the plate it sits so fair, a tempting morsel, rich and rare. But lurking deep within its core, a darkness simmers evermore. A hint of almond, sharp and cold, a secret whispered, yet untold. One bite, a shiver down the spine, a twist of fate, a web of thine. A smile that held a cruel deceit, a bitter curse, a poison treat.
Now time for some interactive fun.
Hey, thanks for sticking around. I'm still Kirk. This is still Dumb Test Slate, and we are still talking about cake. I believe this is part 5 of my Cake into Redoo. The story continues. I would love to catch you up, but I'm getting a blank on what I actually talked about the last episode. I believe I gave the new characters names. Yeah, I gave the new characters names and kind of got caught up with the conflicts and how the story, I should say, is going to move forward. Now, as I continue this story, the next things I do want to talk about, this is what I'm probably going to, with what I'm setting out to talk about, who knows what I'm going to, tangent off. But the first thing is first, I wanted to create the good gay villain that also bakes. Andre being the villain of this story, and Eldon being the hero. I need to create a good villain. And I think I talked about that last episode. I was struggling with how much of a backstory do I want to give the villain, in the worries that the audience would sympathize with him more. But when you think about it, to have a good hero, you have to have a good villain. It just, they go hand in hand, unfortunately. So that's the first thing I wanted to do for this episode. Create the good bakery gay villain. Also, number 2, I wanted to go over, and this is part of me still reading the book, which is sitting right next to me, Save the Cat by Blake Snyder, the last book on screenwriting you'll ever need, which has been my guide through haphazardly. Well, not haphazardly. I'm haphazard without this book, but kind of a good baseline or guided way to create this story. I was struggling for words there, sorry. But yeah, number 2 I got from reading further in the book is that I wanted to come up with for this episode, for my stories, the hero, Eldon, for this story, has to make a decision to jump the story into the next act. Because the first episodes I've been going all over a lot of setup. I'm still going to be going a lot of setup, but I need to figure out in my mind how to jump to act 2. Because if you think about this story, it's going to be in 3 main acts. I need the hero to make a decision to do something to jump the story into act 2. So that's the second thing I'm working on. The third thing is I need to write a B story. That's going to be the biggest thing, because it's easy to work out the main story, but you have to have that B story, because I need supporting characters. I need another side story. I need, in the book, Save the Cat, they call it fun and games, but I need something else to be going on alongside of the story, kind of pushing or pulling the story in different directions. So that's some 3 main things I wanted to go over for this episode. So let's start with number 1, the good gay villain. So the first thing I need to do is think of examples. I need like an archetype, or I need examples of what I'm going to base my villain off of, who Andre is going to be. And I was thinking about this in my head when I was sitting at work, and I was just randomly thinking, and it hit me. I've been watching the show. There's a British show called Taskmaster. I've been watching it forever, but I was recently rewatching. They're on series 17 now, so it's been going on for a while. But I was rewatching the last series 16. And since it's a British show, there's a lot of like comedians and actors and on there that I've never heard of. And on this past one, there was one that was on there that I've never heard of. It just passed me by. Who I think is probably going to be the main like archetype for my villain, Andre. His name is Julian Clary. Am I saying that right? Julian Clary. Who is a comedian? He is a comedian. He's been a comedian for a while in the UK, and he's a bit older, which made me think in my head like I was thinking about making Andre like an older person. Julian Clary is also gay, but for some reason on Taskmaster, and sorry if you never watched Taskmaster, it's a base show when they have comedians and general funny people on to do these funny tasks, and it's always something crazy. They compete with each other. It's an amazing show. But there's a character named Alex Horn who kind of like runs the show, but he's always getting belittled and made fun of on the show. And for some reason in this series, Julian Clary, who's also very tall, basically like picks on Alex.
Julian, you seem to have a sizzling contempt for Alex. I detected early on.
Oh, really? Well, yes.
Yeah.
All the time. And it's like so just with a straight face and just like not over the top, but it's like just small comments to break someone down. And I was like, that's the perfect catty, just break you down with the simplest comment villain. That's going to be the start for my Andre villain for my Cake story, my Cake and 2 story. That's my first one. If you never heard of him, like I've never heard of him. I call him I know a lot of British comedians and a lot of British sitcoms and stuff, but stuff from older, I've basically missed out on. Just because I'm not British. Not everything made it over here. But he's an amazing character. And I went back and looked at like his old, like whatever I found on YouTube, like his old stand-up and all that stuff. It's amazing. It's brilliant. He says stuff with this dry delivery, but it just like cuts. It's so perfect. It's like being a villain and he's going to tell you that he's not a villain, even though he knows he's a villain, and you'll probably believe him. That's my first archetype or example for my villain, Andre, in this story. The second thing is not really a person. It's a situation. I think I referred to this on my last episode, that the episode of The Office, the drug testing episode. I went back and rewatched it, and it's when Michael convinces Dwight to give him pee because Michael's worried that his pee is dirty and he'll get in trouble. And there's a voiceover by Jim at the end because his side story is that he got jinxed. And
Dwight was literally carrying around his own urine and dressed like one of the Village People. Why does he do the things that he does for Michael? I just don't get it. What is he getting out of that relationship?
Can't talk the whole episode, and Pam buys him a Coke so he can give to her and he can finally talk. And he's given a voiceover at the end. And he talks about how he doesn't understand what they get, what Dwight gets from that relationship by being subservient to Michael. That's a good example of the relationship that I'm going to show in this story between Eldon and Andre. Andre, of course, from everyone's perspective, can see they're taking advantage of Eldon, but Eldon stays there and does it kind of all the time. And of course, the backstory is going to show their relationship over the years and how they got to this point and why Eldon keeps, even though it's probably toxic, it's negative, he's behind the scenes and everything. You see why. You see what he's gone through in his personality and why he does this for Eldon, what he gets out of that relationship. That'd be the example from The Office, what Jim says. Also, a quick side note, I pulled one tarot card right before that I recorded this episode, and it was the King of Swords card, but it was upside down, so it was reversed. And I looked up what it meant. So it means, if it comes out reversed, it means quiet power, inner truth, misuse of power, and manipulation. Exactly what is like I'm trying to work out in this story. The quiet power, which is Eldon, He's the one who is behind the scenes and is like kind of the artistry, the true artist one, making all these amazing cakes for the reality show that Andre takes example of. His inner truth is that he knows he's greater. He can do great things, but he has to overcome what's holding him back. And also, like I said, misuse of power. That's what Andre is doing. Instead of Andre helping the person he's spending his life with, he's misusing the power and taking advantage of that person. And that comes to the manipulation. Of course, Andre manipulates the hold he has over Eldon. And that goes to my third villain archetype. And it made me randomly, I thought of the movie Casino. Great movie. If you've never seen it, if you're younger, or if you haven't seen it, well, great movie to go back to. Made me think of the relationship of Ginger and her old boyfriend or pimp.
But one thing I just could never understand was that she could have everything under control except for her old pimp boyfriend, Lester Diamond.
Jen, you know I got other people in this. I got partners. I want you to understand that I am looking out for you in this thing, okay? You're going to get yours back. You're going to get back first.
From the past, James Woods' character, Lester Diamond. I think it's Lester Diamonds or Lester Diamond. That even though Ginger marries, I can't think of what Robert De Niro's character is named, but Lester Diamond still has this hold over her somehow. And he like takes advantage of her to get money out of her and all this stuff. You see that happen many times over the story of Casino. And that's another one of like manipulation and just holding power over someone who you know their weakness. That's the greatest part of a villain. A villain knows a person's weakness and just holds it over them for all these years. And that's what I need to show between the relationship of Andre and Eldon. How this power manipulation works. And it's going to be behind the scenes, because if in this story, in this universe, the average person watches this reality show will not see any of this. They'll see this great hero that's Andre, and they'll think they're this great baker and they're this artist and they have great personality and they shine on camera. But in reality, Eldon is the one that is the true artist. So that's my hero and story. That's my villain and hero conflict that I'm going to work out with my three main archetypes. That's the first part. So the second thing I wanted to talk about, the hero has to make the decision to make the jump to act 2. And this kind of goes hand in hand with the B story. Let me talk about the B story. So I'm thinking that, like I talked about before, the backstory with Eldon, our hero, is that he comes from, I think saying a broken home is kind of just harsh and kind of too generic. He comes from an unsupportive home. Let's just say that, where he's estranged from his parents. Maybe they're not alive anymore, or I don't know. That could be part of the story. But he kind of has this adopted family, where not legally adopted, but like a family presence that's kind of an alternative or different family that he's navigated to, because even though he's in this relationship with Andre has to travel a lot, so they're kind of apart a lot, and their relationship is strained. So he found this kind of adopted family. And the thing I was thinking, the makeup of that family is they would be like a poly couple, maybe 3 or 4 people that are like part of the LGBT community also. But there's like, maybe they're trans, maybe they're non-binary or something like that. They're going to be a poly couple where I'm thinking 3 people. And they're going to have they're planning this like alternative. I couldn't think of another word, but I'm just going to say wedding ceremony. But I should look up what an alternative wedding ceremony would be. And of course, Eldon is the one, because that's his adopted family. He's, going to be planning out all the cake and the treats and the food and all that stuff, because he's the artist and that's his adopted family. So that would be the B story. He gets advice from this poly adopted family that he's part of. And you see that's where his happy place is, because he's struggling with his relationship with Andre and being behind the scenes on the reality show. But around this couple, he's not part of the poly couple. That's like his family. You see him kind of spilling his guts or being very more expressive and open with them because he's happy around them while they are planning out their poly wedding. I don't know if there's a term for that. I'll look it up. Yeah, what notes did I put? Also, there's like, I think I talked about this in one of the first episodes of this Cake and Redo, that Eldon will be also getting advice from a shop that is close to their cake shop or it's attached to it, but it'd be like a flower shop. Because I'm thinking the whole area is like this whole fancy area with flower shops and antique shops and cake shops. The flower shop is run by an older couple. So Eldon gets advice from them and he sees them as this happy older couple that's been working together for so long. And he wants that. He wants a happy relationship. That's what also pushes him to stick in this relationship with Andre, because and eventually that's who he wants. He's from a broken home. He just wants happy. He wants to grow happy with someone. For some reason, I don't know why I wrote this as notes, but like it's part of the Eldon. I mean, the bakery, the A&E bakery makes erotic cakes. So they also make erotic other things. And for some reason, I wrote vagina cheese Danish. That's one of the things that Eldon is forced to make, but it's a top seller because it's a whole LGBT community that they have this shop in. So that's a top seller, is the vagina cheese Danish. I don't know how I'm going to get that in the story, but it'll pop up. Yeah. And he's involved with this poly couple that's planning out their marriage. That's part of the B story. But that's going to be part of that B story is the jump to Act 2. So I'm thinking that, because I also talked about in the previous episodes about like the end result of this story, or the crescendo of the whole story, is going to be that reality show Bake Off at the end, where all these reality shows are in competition with each other, but it's a live competition. So I'm wondering at some point if Eldon and Andre have a full-on blow-up conflict before that, because I also said that the producers of their reality show want to introduce another character that's kind of the love interest to Andre, and Eldon loses it over that because he's in the public eye. They're not in a relationship, but the producers want to add in this other person so they can make the show bigger or more famous and all that stuff. And Eldon loses it. I'm thinking Eldon will leave that bakery to either start his own or work at a rival bakery. And that will push the story to Act 2, because Andre now is in this position where, because he's not the artisan baker, he's a baker, but he's not as creative and artistic as Eldon. So he's, begging to get Eldon back, and Eldon finally loses full faith in this relationship and he leaves and he ends up at a rival bakery and all this stuff. That could be the jump to Act 2. And that could be also part of the villain story, where I talked about Casino, the relationship between Ginger and Lester, that even though Eldon leaves, he's still kind of being controlled by Andre, because Andre has such a hold on him emotionally. That could be part of the story in Act 2. Because also in Act 2, you have that conflict where the group or the couple or somebody fully break apart. And then you as the audience is hoping they either get back together at the end or something happens. It's one of those. It's like the conflict that breaks up the group or the couple in a story. You always see them in movies where they have that big fight. For some reason, when I always think about this, the first example that pops in my head is Shrek. When Shrek overhears Donkey and Fiona talking, and they think that he thinks they're talking about him. I don't know why. Well, why does my mind go straight to Shrek? I could think of many other great examples, but I go straight to Shrek. But everyone has seen Shrek, so you know what I'm talking about. It's like the misunderstanding, or is that breakup of, and then at the end they run in and save the day, or they run in and get together, or the crescendo of the story. Act 3. So I'm leading into Act 2. I need to fully fledge that out because I think I've done enough with this setup and the backstory and all that stuff. So I need to push more to Act 2 with the B story. I'm going to work more on that. The side characters. I think I'm fully fledged out Andre and Eldon, unless something small pops up between them. But I think I'm good with those. So those are my next things I'm going to be working on in the next episodes. New characters. For some reason, I do need to remember why I wrote Vagina Cheese Danish. I don't know, but I won't type that into AI chatbot. I do not want to see that what gets generated from that. But yeah, that's where I'll end it. Also, I'm recording this on 4/21, 2024. If you're listening to this way in the future, there may be a secret another episode that I do right after this one because I have like a bunch of other ideas that I want to do, but I really want to fully fledge this story out before I jump into another idea. But there's one really good idea that I'm itching to do. So there might be another small episode that pops up after this one. Saying that means I have to record 2 episodes in one day. Maybe. We'll see. Okay. All right. But look out for that. But yeah, this is Cake into Redoo Part 5. We're going to try to jump in Act 2. We're jumping into Act 2. So we'll fully fledge that out. But yeah, thanks for listening. I'm still Kirk. This is still Dumb Test Slate. We're trying them out. But thanks for listening. I hope you all catch me soon on the secret next episode. Don't be mad if it's not about cake. But thanks for listening. Bye.